How the hell has it been a year already? What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for the launch of a new kind of retrospective series that's going to be more of a recurring segment, I suppose. No, this was not the new series that I'm teasing, but that is coming soon. I just want to have a few episodes on retainer on the back burner essentially before I launch it, because it is going to be kind of a tedious series and I want to make sure that I'm able to put them out in a somewhat timely fashion, so I want to have a few built up, at least two, before I launch the series. Now today, in this new thing that I'm doing, I'm going to be taking a look at an album that's been very influential not only in the mainstream, but to me personally, and looking at it either 1 year later, 3 years later, 5 years later, whatever it might be. It's generally going to be updated thoughts on albums that I've already reviewed, and generally it's going to be for ones that have gotten much better with time. And not that I didn't necessarily give them initial praise, it's just the fact that I think it's cool to look at something a year later, because you're never at the same point in your life that you are 5 years ago or else 10 years ago. Everything changes, and that's the way it is for artists, musicians, bands as well. You're never in the same place as you were whenever you were in the headspace whenever you wrote the record, and it's kind of nice to look at things kind of removed from the situation maybe a year later. And it's always cool whenever albums settle in with you over time. And without further ado, I like it when you sleep, for you were so beautiful, yet so unaware of it. Obviously, you saw the title of this video. This is what you came for. This album is fucking fantastic. It's hard to believe that it's been about a year since this album came into my life and subsequently took over my life, because I played it so much. In fact, this thing just came off of the turntable once again. I think this is probably about the 100th spin that I've given to this record, but hey, I'm not complaining. I never play albums that much, and that says something in and of itself right there. It speaks to the quality of the musicianship, the lyrical content, and just the artistic integrity behind the music that they put out. I Like It When You Sleep was such a step forward for them, and looking back at it now, I appreciate so many other nuanced details about the music. Now, there were a few things that I kind of guessed on whenever I did my review, ended up being right, like the assumption that Paris wasn't actually talking about Paris, that it was more of a state of mind. I'm glad I accidentally got that one right. I kind of walked into it, and not that it was that hard to guess, but still, it was nice that I was kind of on the head with that, as Maddie addressed that a couple of times in concert. I had the pleasure of seeing them live again not too long ago at all. That was the second time that I'd seen them. I saw them on the first album cycle, I saw them here, and I'm actually seeing them for a third time at Boston Calling Music Festival this May. The band puts on a hell of a live performance, and I think seeing some of these songs live made them that much more powerful to me. There were only a couple that they didn't play from their new record. I was sad to see that the Ballad of Me and My Brain was unfortunately left off of the set list, as that was one that I initially listed as a least favorite, but it's one that totally grew on me over time, and I really love how smart that song is. It's just kind of portraying what they were talking about on the mainly instrumental cut Lost My Head, and here he explores it a little bit further, kind of removed from the situation, and obviously using some very intelligent analogies there, and I think that that makes it one of the better songs on this record over time. It's one of those that might be a little bit of a dedicated taste, something that you have to grow into. For me personally, that's how I found it, but I ended up falling for it quite hard over time. And I have to say that moments like that, If I Believe You, kind of a gospel tinged track that really sees him kind of like conflicted with his faith and his morals and where he wants to go in life. Moments like that only get sweeter and sweeter on the ears over time. Coming in at 73 minutes long, this is a pretty lengthy record, but it does not feel like it whatsoever, especially once you really immerse yourself into the music and everything about the vibe of the album. It's perfect for night driving, or else playing it on your turntable at home, or just listening to music on your headphones at night and just falling asleep. Once you fall into their world, into their mentality, into what Matthew Healy is feeling here with the lyrical content, it's something that you can easily get passionate about and really start to see things from his point of view. All throughout this record, there's themes of hurt, kind of reflection on where you're at in your life, and kind of not caring, kind of apathy, but worrying about that in a sense, and moving on from some of these past things he was kind of traumatized by on maybe the first album. And I love that there's so many callbacks stuffed all throughout this record to the first album. I know there's probably already people typing comments saying, John, are you gonna tell us what you think about the instrumental cuts? Those are the ones that we care about the most. Have you changed your thoughts on those whatsoever? And the answer, to put it simply, is yes, I would say so. At first, it definitely was kind of a roadblock for me to get into parts of this record. It kind of put it on halt, and not that I always listen to them. I'll admit easily and freely that I do skip through them quite often. But whenever you really want to dive into this album, they fit perfectly with the mood, and I completely understand why they want to do it. They're a band that have an appreciation for their musicianship and don't just put out songs that necessarily have lyrical content. They put out songs that have meaning to them, have a place on a record, and I love that they kind of are an album-based band. People that love crafting an album and the art and integrity behind it, so I can get behind that 100%. And while I don't always come back to these tracks, moments like Lost My Head are incredible, and I love the title track, I Like It When You Sleep, because it really just wanders off in kind of lucid dreaming territory, but it reels it all back in the midst of the chaos, and then moves into moments like The Sound, like right after that, an upbeat and lively song that was almost given away to One Direction, I found out. Matt Healy avoided a big mistake there by turning it in to one of their biggest songs to date, and let me tell you, that thing is a blast to hear live. Jumping up and down while the entire crowd is moving with you, just fantastic and joyous. I can honestly say that there's not really any moments that I've gotten completely sick of at this point, and that's really hard to say about most albums. From the slower cuts like Nana and She Lays Down, which have so much meaning and impact on Matt Healy's life, and just even to other listeners who can probably relate to that type of thing, to the more upbeat ones like I was talking about with The Sound, or even Ugh, kind of a catchy, drug-ridden track that I really enjoy, to the lead single Love Me, which sure may have gotten a lot of play, a lot of attention, a love on alternative stations, and somebody else as well, but I still find myself creeping back on them all the time, especially ones like Somebody Else, one that I wouldn't have necessarily called a favorite at first, but really I see so much power behind this track. You can really feel the emotion, what he was going through at this time, just the turmoil, falling apart at the seams, and moments like that, and even a change of heart, and I find myself drawn to them time and time again because there's so much there to appreciate and dig into. The ever important moment that I want to leave you guys on before I finish up this little one-year retrospective here is a little chat about the song Loving Someone, a moment that I called to mind in my review as very important in our world and society today, and in 2017 I see it as even more important, something that we really need to focus on as a society, especially, I would say worldwide, of course, but especially in the United States right now, where hate seems to be winning and where people live in a little bit of fear. I would say things are chaotic right now. You should be loving someone is more than just a statement about, oh, you should have a boyfriend, you should have a girlfriend, you should go seek out love. No, it's more than that in so many different ways. It's saying that we shouldn't feed into the hate machine. We shouldn't just hate somebody because of their religion or their race or their sexuality. Those things are not important and don't matter. They don't define a person, so why care about that so much? There's so much more that you should focus on. You should be loving someone. You should be showing someone kindness rather than just tearing somebody down, especially people that you know in real life. Friends and family are people that you want to build up around you. You need a support layer there for you at the end of the day if you fall flat on your face. And loving someone is just a really catchy call to mind, kind of a synth-driven moment that I love so much. I vibe with the synths very heavily, and that and just the kind of restraint of the song, and then the synthesizers really kicking into the second half, it just makes it feel that much more potent. And all throughout this record, I find myself just kind of saying, wow, still. And whenever you're taken back by a record a year later, or years later, I'm sure that I'll keep coming back to this over time, and it's one of those albums that's going to keep getting play for myself. But whenever you can still say that, and having listened to it so many times, and the amount of music that I personally consume, it's just rare. I don't see albums like this. That's why I have to say that it's just held in such high regard for me. I have to pass that on to you guys, especially if you've never checked out the full album. Maybe you've never really listened to the 1975 at all. Please do yourself a favor. check it out. I will put a link to my original review just a minute in the end screen. Do check that out. There's a link in the description down below as well if you'd like to check out my initial thoughts on the album. Looking back at it now, I originally gave it a 4 out of 5, updated it in the description to a 4.5. Now, I'm honestly going to have to go ahead and upgrade that to a 5. What do you guys think about the 1975's I Like It When You Sleep 1 year later? Sound off in the comments. Also, let me know with a like that you're enjoying the new segment here on ARTV. I hope you're excited for the new series that's coming very soon. You can find me on social media, linked in the description to stay up to date with that. You can see my original 1975 review right here, or another video I did about them by clicking right here. Other than that, I'll see you very soon right here on ARTV.